पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Hari Om. Okay, so yesterday we've done the higher worlds, which comprise of Sat at the highest, Chit, Anand, and the lower worlds, which were from the lowest we take, it's matter, life, and mind. Right? We said that the higher worlds have created their own worlds. Sat has created the world, which is called Satyaloka. Satchit. Chit has created the world, Tapoloka, and then Satchit Anand has created Jnanaloka. Then when we discuss the lower three, then there was Bhur, Bhurloka, Bhuvaloka, and Bhur-Bhuva Swarloka. Right? Today we are going to do the intermediate world. The intermediate world is the one that's in between the above three and the below three. The intermediate world, which is the world of Surya, or what Sri Aurobindo has called Supermind or Vijnanamaya, right? And that is called Maharloka. Should we begin? Between these two creations, linking them together, is the world or organization of consciousness, of which the infinite truth of things is the foundation. What is the foundation of Supermind? The infinite truth of things. Between the higher and lower worlds, there is a mediating principle where the complete truth is present in its unity. That oneness is there in the Maharloka. There, dominant individualization no longer usurps the all-pervading soul, and the foundation of consciousness is its own vast totality, arranging in itself individualized movements which never lose the consciousness of their integrality and total oneness with all others. Multiplicity no longer prevails and divides, but even in the complexity of its movements, always refers back to essential unity and its own integral totality. So, mediating between the higher and the lower worlds is the intermediate world of Maharloka. The characteristic feature of this loka is that while total unity is present in Maharloka, there is no division, there is no individualization. The possibility of multiplicity comes into being. The possibility, the potentiality of multiplicity is there in Maharloka. However, it is, although it is a unity of totality of consciousness that is predominant here. The possibility of a play of individual manifestation is still very much within the framework of the overall unitary consciousness. The possibility of becoming many, the possibility of becoming the multiplicity is very much present in the Maharloka, although it is a unity. As yet, the interrelation of potential manifestation is still a complexity. Yesterday we had said that the divine is what? Does anybody remember? The divine is simple, complex. The divine is simple because he is what he is. And he is complex because he has the possibility. He is simple because he is one. And he is complex because he has the possibility, the potentiality of multiplicity. This world is therefore called Maharloka, or world of large consciousness. So this mediatory world is called Maharloka, in which unity and multiplicity are both present, both equally present, but the former is more pronounced, more accentuated, and the latter, the possibility, the potentiality of multiplicity is in the background, right? And
Anjali, I've got a question over here. Can I ask?
yeah, Renu, yeah, of
Interesting.
course.
Yeah,
Please,
you
please.
say that this is a place where it is dominated by the unity, and
Yes,
there are possibility of multiplicity. But
yes.
but in the Satchit Anand state also it is the same, isn't it? I mean, then where's the difference? Because that is also unity is there, and it has the properties of multiplicity.
The
So
the multiplicity actually happens at the stage of Maharloka.
okay,
Yeah, because it is Maharloka in the supermind which gives Satchidanand the self-consciousness, the consciousness to be able to see itself. Actually speaking, there is no difference between all four, to be very honest. Because
yeah,
Satchidanand, the nature of Satchidanand is that they have the ability to look at themselves,
yeah,
self-awareness. And
yeah.
that ability is called supermind or Surya.
Okay, that makes more sense. That ability can be called supermind, but over here, when you
Yes,
say that it has the power of multiplicity, I mean, I thought that that's there also.
yes, yes,
But here, this makes more sense. Yes, thank you so
yes.
much.
Pleasure. So, the principle of Maharloka is Vijnana. We also call this Loka Vijnana, right? And we also said this is where the idea started, the idea. So, it's also called the idea. The principle of Maharloka is Vijnana, the idea. But this Vijnana is intuitional, or rather Gnostic idea. Now, another term to describe Maharloka is Vijnana, or idea, which means comprehensive knowledge. It's a totality of knowledge comprising both of jnana and vijnana. Remember in the Gita, those who remember the Gita will remember that Sri Krishna says that now I'm going to give you that knowledge, jnanam sa vijnanam cha. That I'm going to give you the knowledge which is jnana, which comprises of jnana and vijnana, knowledge and the essence of knowledge, the highest knowledge. So both of them together is what Vijnana is what the knowledge of supermind is. But in this paragraph, what is largely being discussed is the method in which the Supreme Being actually takes cognizance of itself. As we said, what does the supermind do? The supermind is the power of Satchidanand by which Satchidanand is able to become aware of itself. Right? Supermind is the power by which Satchidanand takes cognizance of itself, note of itself, not only note of itself, but also all the possibilities that are within it. Now we'll read everybody's clear? Now we'll read the footnote. Now the footnote is going to need a little elaboration because it's a very important part of this chapter. Intuition, revelation, inspiration, intuitive perception, intuitive discrimination is Vijnana working in mind under the conditions and in the forms of mind. When Sri Aurobindo says forms of mind, he means the limitations of mind. See, anything that takes a form, what does a form indicate? Anything that has taken a form has got limited within the form, right? That is why when the word form is used here by Sri Aurobindo, it is indicating limitation of the mind. I'll read the footnote again. This will need a little elaboration. And we'll take some time over the elaboration of this one line of footnote because it's very important. Intuition, revelation, inspiration, intuitive perception, intuitive discrimination is Vijnana working in mind under the conditions and in the forms or limitations of mind. Now, 7 rivers have been mentioned in the Vedas. Let's go to reference 33, please. 7 rivers have been mentioned in the Vedas, but only names of 5 have been come to be known. And these are called rivers. Why they are called rivers? Because there is a flow of the higher powers of consciousness from the higher worlds towards the lower worlds. So they are called rivers, but they are actually higher levels of consciousness, which when invoked or when there is krupa, when there is grace from the divine, these higher levels of consciousness flow into the individual. So the 5 names of the rivers and what they actually indicate has been put forward in front of you as reference 33. Mahati in the Vedas is the consciousness of wideness, vastness. So one can actually invoke these powers of consciousness, these goddesses. Ila is the goddess of revelation. Now, wideness, vastness, we all understand. What is revelation? Revelation is something to which we have sudden access. Don't we always say that Prophet Muhammad had a revelation, and in that revelation, the Quran is what came out of that revelation. So it's like a sudden something that happens to you, which gives you a sudden access to some knowledge, and that is revelation. Saraswati is the goddess of inspiration. Now, inspiration is revelation, which has with this, which triggers a force of action by some kind of a descent. So there's a revelation, but it's not only a revelation, it also becomes an inspiration to actually implement something, put something into action. Don't we say he was inspired to do this? That's an inspiration, the goddess Saraswati. Then there is Sarama, intuition. She's the goddess of intuition. Now, what is intuitive perception? Intuitive perception is even stronger than revelation. Intuitive perception has a much higher degree of clarity and focus than even revelation, because it's a direct vision of the truth. It is not a revelation that comes through a channel. It goes directly it comes directly from the truth. That is intuition. And that is Sarama, or actually they are indicated in the Vedas as the dogs of heaven. But I won't be able to go deeply into that. But this is the goddess Sarama, the goddess of intuition. And much greater than intuition also is Daksha, or intuitive discrimination, the goddess of intuitive discrimination. Because this is where the perceived truth is not only more clear, but it is also free of any mixture inside it. There is no mixture of other intuitive perceptions. For instance, somebody has had one revelation and another revelation, one intuition, but there could be a mixture of those. When you have intuitive discrimination, then there is an absolute clarity of, there's a clear bifurcation between the different inspirations and intuitions and revelations that one has had. There is absolute discrimination and perfect clarity. And now we have to understand that the first thing that we have to realize is that there is a power of knowledge well beyond our normal mental mind. Yesterday we had seen one of the references, day before yesterday, where we saw that there is mind, higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, overmind. So many ranges of mind. And to be able to realize that there are these ranges of mind, of which our mind is only a faint glimmer, like a little glimmer of light. By becoming receptive to these higher powers of mind, we can gradually and consciously transform and even expand our mental operations. The Rig Veda has described these higher powers with the symbol of 7 rivers, as I said, and 5 have been clarified, the names: Mahati, Ila, Saraswati, Sarama, and Daksha. Sri Aurobindo has described these in those other names that I said: mind, higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, overmind, and then supermind. Now, let us just concentrate for a moment and understand what is it that we can do consciously to be able to transform our mind and to open ourselves to this higher power. What is it that we can do? So, first of all, we need to develop a faith in ourselves that there is this higher knowledge, these higher powers, these rivers, these consciousness which can flow from above. Then there are these goddesses who can be invoked. The power of intuition, is not a new phenomena for humanity. Humanity has tapped this power of intuition in all its moments, most of its moments of genius. The great inspirations, say, of art, the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven, Einstein's theory of relativity, when all of a sudden the theory of relativity came to him, and the verses of Bhagavad Gita, these are all, and there will be so many countless others. These are all operations of a higher genius which found a passage and access into a very receptive mind. The mind has to be receptive. These and many more such operations of genius, they seem astounding to us when we ascribe it to a normal human mind. But as soon as we can actually visualize that light of intuition casting its power of comprehensive knowledge, casting its power of intuition far beyond the capacity of mind, then we find ourselves face to face with a force so close to the very essence of creation. Where does this revelation come from? Where does this intuition come from? It comes from these higher powers. It comes from the supermind, this intuition. And then it kind of clears the way. And in a mind which is receptive, it just comes in like a shaft of light. And there, an intuition has happened. All great and true advancements in history are stamped by intuition. And intuition is our common inheritance. It is our inheritance, but we have to choose it. We have to work for it. Once we have reposed faith that there is the existence of the intuitive power of mind, then we need to learn to submit to it. How do we submit to it? What do we do to submit to it? To submit to intuition, to become receptive to intuition, what we have to do is we have to become more and more silent. We have to become more and more open, more and more receptive to that power of intuition. This intuitivizing of the mind can be the first step towards the attainment of a consciousness which is far, far beyond the ordinary human consciousness, mental consciousness. The mind must become utterly tranquil, utterly silent, immobile, as a pond is on a breezeless day. And when this happens, then from above, the light of the stars drops into the motionless waters. So the light of this higher mind, similarly, the light of Shakti, the light of the truth within, the light of truth above, shall shine in the quieted mind and will give birth successively to the illumined mind, to the intuitive mind, to the overmind, till finally the supermind can take hold of the mind. Though it is pretty unknown in detail, yet this unerring guidance, this guidance which is faultless, unerring, that guidance shall start taking place in our lives once we start becoming receptive to it. Not only do we become receptive, but we have to invoke that light. And the more we surrender to it, the more conscious and palpable to us will become its reality. So this is what I wanted to say about revelation, inspiration, intuitive perception, and intuitive discrimination. Is everybody clear on this? We can stop this and come back to the... Now we'll continue the footnote. Everybody is clear on this?
Anjali, I have a question.
Yes, Amita?
Just want to know that, like you said, there are 7 rivers mentioned in the Vedas.
Yes.
And we say Vedas are hymns of God, correct? All the knowledge in it is complete. And we're also saying that we know only of 5 names of the rivers.
Yeah.
I mean, why 2 are missing in it?
You see, we don't even have the complete Vedas, right? So much of our Vedas were taken away from us. So whatever parts that we have, what we've been able to find are only these 5 names, these 5 powers of consciousness. The other 2 cannot be found, at least in the Vedas that we have been able to lay our hands on. That's why. Yeah, Sarita, you were saying something?
So these 5 rivers, are they corresponding to these 5, that higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, overmind, and supermind?
Yeah, I told you, that not to a higher mind. Mahati, to begin with, is the river.
Have the reference again once. The reference. Can we have the reference again on the?
Yeah, Mona, can we have the reference again? You can write it down, Sarita.
Yeah.
So Mahati is the goddess of wideness or vastness. You see that every time we talk of gods, we first come to the god or goddess of vastness. Till we remain limited in our being, till we remain, but this is me and this is mine. Tab tak nothing is going to happen. It is that wideness or vastness is very, very important.
Yeah.
Kutumba.
Then Ila is the goddess of revelation. Revelation, I said, is something to which you have sudden access. It just comes and it's gone.
No, Anjali, so the Mahati, the wideness or vastness, does she correspond to Varuna? Because he's also god of...
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Then there is Saraswati, the goddess of inspiration. There is an A missing in it, just a typo. Saraswati. Yeah. So there is Saraswati, the goddess of inspiration.
Yeah.
And inspiration, we said, is revelation which triggers a force in us, a force of action. So there is some kind of a descent which comes with the implementation of the revelation. Then there is Sarama, the most important, or even more important than that is Daksha. Sarama is the goddess of intuition.
Yeah.
And Daksha is the goddess of intuitive discrimination. So there's not only intuition, but even higher than intuition is the discrimination, where it is free of any mixture with other intuitive perceptions. So if there have been many intuitions, there is a clear discrimination between intuition and the other intuition. Okay? Yeah.
So this does not like the intuitive mind, like what you're talking about, the intuitive mind.
Yes.
So does this become Sarama?
Yes. That there is intuitive mind doesn't become Sarama. When Sarama descends into the mind, and when the mind grows towards Sarama, then it reaches that point where it starts getting intuitions.
Okay. And the illumined mind?
Well, there isn't any goddess corresponding to it, not one of the rivers corresponding to it, but it is just a growth of the mind, right?
Oh, okay.
From mind to higher mind to illumination, illumined mind, right?
Okay. Yeah. So actually, it could be written other way around. Mahati can come below, and the Ila is above that, and Saraswati is above that.
Yes. And
so it's actually, you can write it the other way.
Yeah, you could write it the other way, but you always read from top to bottom, no?
Yeah, but okay.
Right?
Yeah,
This is
okay.
Yogesh. I wanted to ask that as part of the Quest family, we are aware that there are various states of mind which are above the normal existence that we are in. And you said
Yes.
we need to be more receptive. And if you look at steps of being more receptive, you mentioned.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what we were saying, Sureshji, that one has to be very receptive and one has to have a silent mind. One has to work towards silencing the mind for these levels of consciousness to actually descend on us. Just like in a silent, when there is a silent and a quiet and a breezeless day, and in a pond, the light of the stars actually falls on the pond directly without any disturbance. Similarly, as you're saying, it's very, very truly, the mind has to be very receptive, and to be receptive, it has to be very silent. It has to learn to invoke silence within itself. Was that your question? Or did I miss your question, Sureshji? Hello?
I got an answer. This was Yogesh. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Yogesh, okay. Okay, Yogesh. So we'll continue with the footnote. Gnosis or true supermind. Gnosis means knowledge of spiritual mysteries. Gnosis or true supermind is a power above mind, working in its own law. Gnosis or true supermind is actually a power which is way above mind. The word above denotes an absolutely new dimension. It is a vertical ascent. It is not a horizontal proliferation. It is not like, like we say, he is rich, he is more rich, he is super rich. It's not like that. When we talk of gnosis or we talk of supermind, it is a vertical ascent. It is a much higher level of mind. It is a different mind than normal mind. So gnosis or true supermind is a power above mind working in its own law. The own law of Vijnana or supermind's working is the ability to take note of the totality. You know what is the ability of the supermind? That it is able to take cognizance of that totality, of that oneness, of that unity, which means it's able to take cognizance of the essence of the Supreme. Right? So I'll just read the footnote again. Gnosis or true supermind is a power above mind working in its own law out of the direct identity of the Supreme Self. His absolute self-conscious truth, knowing herself by her own power of absolute light without any need of seeking, even the most luminous seeking. So, should I read this again? Okay. Gnosis or true supermind is a power above mind, working in its own law, out of the direct identity of the Supreme Self. So, the supermind has a direct identity with the Supreme Self. His absolute self-conscious truth, knowing herself by her own power of absolute light, without any need of seeking, even the most luminous seeking. So the direct identity of the self-conscious truth, knowing itself, as we said, that supermind is the power of Satchidanand by which Satchidanand knows itself, sees itself, and sees the potentiality that it has inside of itself. So this direct identity of the self-conscious truth, knowing itself as Satchidananda, is a direct perception of its own contents. It does not need any outside agency. As they say here, without any need of seeking, even the most luminous seeking. It doesn't have to seek for the knowledge. The knowledge is inherently within supermind. It already knows. The supermind is the agency, and I'm repeating myself, through which the Supreme being knows itself as Sat, Chit and Ananda. We come back to the text, we finish the footnote. But this Vijnana is intuitional, or rather Gnostic idea, not intellectual conception. So the rest of this paragraph actually describes the nature of the perception of Vijnana, the nature of the perception of Vijnana or supermind or idea, as opposed to how the mind assesses. There is a way of working of the mind and how the mind arrives at truth. So the rest of this paragraph is describing the nature of supermind, how the supermind arrives at truth. Doesn't arrive, it is already aware of the truth in comparison to the mind, which has to arrive at truth, which makes an effort to arrive at the truth. The difference is that intellectual conception not only tends towards form. Again, form means limitation. So we are all in our intellect, we are minds and intellects. And what is the problem of our mind and intellect? It always limits itself in the form, some kind of a limitation. The difference is that intellectual conception not only tends towards form, but determines itself in the form of the idea, and once determined, distinguishes itself sharply from other conceptions. Here, determines in this context means confines itself. The mind's way of working is very different in that it tends to limit the truth, and it concentrates and confines itself to a limited, I can only study this much at a time, I can only study this much at a time. It confines itself, it limits itself. That's the way of the working of the mind. And once it confines itself, then it tends to disengage itself from the whole truth, because it's confining itself to this. For the paradigm of the mental working is, if it is this, then it is not this. It is either this or it is that. Or if it is this, then this has to happen. Neither this nor that. See the difference? And how does the supermind see? The supermind says, all this together is the truth. That is the difference. We are always confining ourselves to a certain amount of limitation. We limit our whole thing, and we are very, very sure about this, that if it is this, it cannot be this. Or if it is this, it has to be this. उसने ऐसा किया तो उसके पीछे यही होगा. We are not able to open our mind that there can be other possibilities. This is the way of the working of the mind. But pure intuitional or Gnostic idea sees itself in the being as well as in the becoming. But the intuitional or Gnostic idea of the supermind is not limited. It is able to see itself as the divine being, and it is able to see itself as the becoming, as that which has become, as the multiplicity. For it, there is no difference, because it is able to see all together, all as one, and it is not limited by the limitations of the mind. And see, we can show reference 34, Mona. What the idea is and what the execution is, there is no gap between the two when it comes to the supermind. But what does T.S. Eliot say? He says between the, this is for the human mind, between the ideal and its execution, between the idea and the reality, there falls a shadow. That is the way of the working of the mind. It is not able to realize in full potential what even its knowledge is. There is a gap between what it sees as truth and what actually it's able to manifest. But that is not the case with the supermind. We'll continue.
Anjali,
Yeah.
you had once mentioned about that exclusive concentration of conscious, the three types, exclusive,
Yes.
multiple, and integral.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is still similar to this when you're talking?
No.
No? Okay. Okay.
But we'll talk about it because today's will finish very fast. And when we finish, please bring the question forward and we'll
Okay.
discuss exclusive concentration of consciousness, multiple concentration of consciousness, and integral concentration.
All right.
Okay? We'll
Yeah.
definitely discuss it so that there's no fog left behind.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
We'll continue. It is one with the existence which throws out the form as a symbol of itself, and it, therefore, carries with it always the knowledge of the truth behind the form. Should I read it again? It is one with the existence which throws out the form as a symbol of itself. It means the Gnostic idea, the supermind, is one with the existence which throws out the form as a symbol of itself, and it therefore carries with it always the knowledge of the truth behind the form. See, the essence is one. It is one with the form, which it expels from itself in the limitation, in the manifestation, in the limitation of manifestation. And it is therefore aware also of the truth. The supermind from itself takes the manifestation out of itself. But when it takes the manifestation out of itself, it is not that it forgets who it is. It remembers who it is, and it also sees that this is me and this is the manifestation that is coming out of me. This is the becoming or the unraveling of the form, and this is what is behind the form. This is me. The supermind is always aware of both together. It is in its nature self-conscious of the being. So as I said, that the nature of the supermind is consciousness of the being. In fact, the being's consciousness is the supermind. It is because of the supermind that the being, that the divine, Satchidanand, is conscious of itself. It is in its nature self-conscious of the being and power of the one, aware always of its totality, starting therefore from the totality of all existence and perceiving directly its contents. It is conscious of itself as the one, and it is also conscious of all the rest of its contents which are starting from unity and the complexity of the possibility that it can become, and then what it becomes. It is always aware of all of it. Its nature is drishti, seeing, not conceiving. It does not have to plan. It does not have to conceive. It is drishti. It sees the idea, and what it sees as an idea, it is able to manifest at the same time, because it doesn't need to conceive of a plan. The idea is inbuilt with the plan, and both happen simultaneously. It is the vision at once of the essence and the image. So Drashta is one who has both the idea and its image simultaneously. Generally, what happens when we capture an image, then that image confines the idea, and then that idea needs some plan for its execution. But that is not the case with the supermind. The idea comes simultaneously with the manifestation. It is this intuition or gnosis which is the Vedic truth, the self-vision and all vision of Surya. Gnosis is actually a Greek word which means a state of supreme illumination. And one who has done all the three transformations, the triple transformation, he becomes the Gnostic being. The Gnostic being is a conscious being in whom the triple transformation has been achieved, and by virtue of that, he is actually in possession of the supreme and integral knowledge and the way of its working. That is the divine will, and has the ability to become a transparent and a perfect instrument, and the divine's will just flows through this being without any disturbance, without any corruption. It just, the divine's will flows through the individual once the triple transformation is done. We can just show reference 35. So, Sri Aurobindo is written copiously about the triple transformation. One can even read it in his text, and otherwise one can read about the three transformations in the letters on yoga. The first and most important transformation to begin this journey is the psychic transformation. The psychic transformation is when one starts becoming aware of the presence of the psychic within one's heart cavity, the soul, the Antaratman, the inhabitor. When one becomes aware of it, not only aware of it, one starts invoking it, not only invoking it, but the psychic starts ruling over the outer being. And whatever we are doing outside is actually driven from the psychic, from the inside to the outside. Spiritual transformation is a transformation when the mind starts opening to the higher and higher minds. The mind opens to the higher mind, then to the illumined mind, intuitive mind, overmind, and the mind starts becoming a channel of the higher and higher minds. That is called the spiritual transformation. And the supramental transformation, it's too early in our yoga yet to reach there, but supramental transformation is when the supermind takes hold of us, and we become the channel of the supermind itself. So, in brief, this is it. And now we can take up the question of Sarita. As we promised that today will be a short session, just an hour. We've completed in 45 minutes. So, yeah, Sarita, what was your question?
Yeah, you were talking about when we were concentrating our consciousness, but sorry, where is that sentence? A second. When we are looking at determines itself in the form of the idea, and once distinguishes itself sharply from other conceptions. When you were talking about this line, page 70, the first sentence.
1 minute, it's in my copy, there are no pages. Yeah, page
70.
Huh.
When you were talking this first sentences here, the difference is that intellectual conception not only tends towards form is what limits itself, but determines itself in the form of the idea, and once determined, distinguishes itself sharply from other conceptions. When you were saying that we are looking at everything with just from one
point of view.
So this, I was asking you this, you had mentioned earlier about these three types of consciousness. Yeah. So does this apply here?
The difference is that intellectual conception not only tends towards form, but determines itself in the form of the idea. And once determined, distinguishes itself sharply from other conceptions. Well, you can say that it does, maybe, because we talked about exclusive concentration of consciousness. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, so exclusive concentration of consciousness is when our consciousness is so exclusively concentrated on one thought, one idea, that it obliterates the other conceptions and other ideas from its whole concentration. And so that leads to ignorance. What does the word ignorance, where is the word ignorance derived from? Ignorance is derived from the word ignore. When we don't see the whole and we see a part and we ignore the rest, When we ignore the rest, it turns out to be ignorance. And in exclusive concentration of consciousness, that is exactly what happens, that one is exclusively looking at just one, what we may call focus, but we are ignoring the rest. So this is what this is saying. Let me read it now.
So this multiple comes into
Okay.
this.
Multiple is when you're looking at not one, but a few more. Multiple concentration of consciousness. But the integral concentration of consciousness is what the supermind has, where nothing is left out of the whole. From the consciousness, there is nothing that has been left out. The being and the becoming all are in the consciousness, in that integral consciousness of supermind. There is no gap. There is nothing that's been left out, nothing that has been ignored by virtue of ignorance.
Yeah, so this sentence, but pure intuitional or Gnostic idea sees itself in the being as well as in the becoming.
1 minute, I've lost that page again. Is it the same page?
Yeah, the same page.
Yeah, page 70.
Okay, but pure intuitional or Gnostic idea sees itself in the being as well as in the becoming. What is the being? The being is with a capital B, that is the divine Satchidananda. And the becoming is the multiplicity. So what does the pure intuitional or the Gnostic idea do? It sees itself as all. It sees itself as the being, as the Satchidananda who has become the becoming. So it sees himself as the being and the becoming both together.
Okay, so these are not related. The two things are not
This
related.
is, no. This is the integral concentration of consciousness.
Oh, this is the integral. Okay. That's what I was
Yeah.
studying. Integral.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions from anybody?
Yeah, clarity on
Yogesh?
of consciousness
Your
as well
voice-
as well as integral.
Say
Both
that
these are well understood. If you could just, I said, as Sarita mentioned, this shows the state of integral concentration of consciousness when you're
Yes.
aware of the being and the becoming.
Yes.
Exclusive is when you are only focused on the becoming because you are isolating
No.
everything else.
Exclusive could also be that I'm just studying the Isha Upanishad and I'm not at all concentrating on the other things that are happening around me. Even that could be exclusive, right? It could be anything. How did the divine become other than himself? The divine became other than himself by exclusive concentration of consciousness. It started concentrating on becoming other than itself. And it started not looking at the whole. And by that exclusive concentration of consciousness, the divine started becoming other than himself. But that was by choice. So
Right.
it can be seen in both ways. Yeah, so what
Okay.
was your question?
So if you could elaborate on multiple concentration of consciousness.
Multiple concentration of consciousness would be, say, a mother has her friend with her in the kitchen and she's cooking food. She's talking to her friend in the normal language. Her little child comes and talks in that baby language. So she talks to the baby at the same time in that baby language. She's at the same time talking to her friend in the friend's language. At the same time she's cooking. At the same time she's able to concentrate on multiple things. That is multiple concentration of consciousness. But what we need to grow is grow into the integral concentration of consciousness, where we are able to see the whole. Nothing is left out from our vision. That is the aim that we should put before us, place before us.
Perfect. Thanks.
Right? Thank you. Any other questions, anybody?
Anjali,
Yeah.
Aditi, I have
Aditi.
a question. In the diagram, I keep on referring to that diagram that you made with the golden lid and all that.
Yeah.
And
We can
उसमें
bring it forward. Just 1 minute. Mona, can you bring the diagram forward, the one with the golden lid? Hiranyamayana Patrena. Yes, Aditi?
So in that now you talk of Satchidanand as a separate, like sort of block, if you want to say, and the lower minds are a separate block, and then you have the super mind as a separate block away from Satchidanand. But when you talk of super mind, you talk of all the qualities of Satchidanand being in the super mind.
Yeah, it is not a separate block. Why I put the bracket was it had so many names. So I didn't want the names to be mixed up with either the golden lid or with Ananda.
So it's actually part of the 4 are 1 actually, not the 3 are 1 plus 1.
Why the fourth can be seen as a separate, like even in Sri Aurobindo, he has said 3 higher, 3 lower, and he says this is the intermediate plane. So that is why you can even, these are all,
you could say, the bridge.
The bridge between the lower and the higher. You can put it in whichever way you would like to put it. It's become too large, so we can't see the full thing. Yeah, this is good enough. This is good enough. So there is Sat, Chit, Tapas and Ananda. And at the bottom there is physical, vital and mind. In between there are many, many minds. And then there is the golden lid which separates the lower 3 from the higher 4. Right? Even the super mind is beyond the golden lid. Right? When we finish the 15th and 16th verses, the commentary on it, we must read the last 2, the 15th and 16th verses in the light of the commentary that we've done. Right? Okay. We must do that. So now I don't know, I don't know when I'll do 17th and 18th, but we should try and complete these by Monday, Tuesday, so that we can continue an hour of Savitri for 2-3 days, because that has gone in the background because Isha Upanishad. So maybe we try to finish this on Monday and Tuesday. And and then we can go back to Savitri just an hour a day for just 2 days or something. And then I would like to take a little longer gap. So once I get my spiritual retreat in some kind of a formation. Yeah. So should we meet on Monday and Tuesday and try and wrap up? Right? Okay. And then everybody who would like to join the Savitri group, who's not in Savitri group, please send a message to me separately, not on the Isha session, but separately, and I'll add you to the.
So if we haven't been there, we can join at this stage.
Yeah. Savitri is a long mantra wherever you. I have one recording of Savitri.
Okay, so
I can send that to you.
That would be great.
Yeah. Then you have Savitri with you, right?
I don't have it. But I'm sure I can find it on the net, no?
You can find it on the net. Yes.
अंजलि आज तो संडे और मंडे कुछ नहीं है, कल भी
नहीं, संडे को तो नहीं पॉसिबल है. There is something.
अच्छा.
I'm busy in. So Monday, Tuesday, we'll try and wrap up in 2 days so that then next week sometime, because I promised Narendra that we will start Savitri from next week. I thought I'll finish it in this week, but we didn't finish it in this week. It's okay. हो जाएगा जब होएगा.
Anjali, we have a separate group for Savitri. What is the caption like of the group?
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.